Hey everybody! So, for today's video, we are going to be connecting basically everything that we've learned into one singular video. That's going to be for the second half, but we do have to still learn one thing, which is operators. And operators should be relatively easy to learn. So let's get into it. We've already gone into variables and floats and booleans and all sorts of different things, but now we have to go into operators, which is what actually does the math for the computer. So let's take a look. So, here is our first thing that we're going to be doing. Addition. We've all done addition before, but now we're going to have our computer do it for us. The main thing that we need to look at right here is this symbol right here. This is what does all of the math for everything, and it's really important that you include this symbol. Alrighty, let's move on to the next thing. Subtraction. Now, this is the subtraction symbol. We all know it. We're all very familiar with it. Just print that. Let's move on. Alrighty, and now let's get into some multiplication. So, for multiplication, it's very important to know that this asterisk is the multiplication thing. You want to make sure that this is present in your code when you are trying to do a multiplication thingamabob. That's the technical term. I'm very technical with these things. Alrighty, so for division, we're going to be using the / and that is going to be our operator. Just remember that. So, now we're going to be finding the remainder, which is basically, we've done this in one of our other videos. We try to find the remainder, and that's so we have to use the we have to use the percent sign instead of normal division in some cases. Alrighty. Okay, so here's exponent, and this little asterisk here is the multiplication doodad, so we see it repeating right here, which is awesome. But it's just important to remember 2 asterisks for exponents. This is, so if you forget one, you'll accidentally do 8 times 3 instead of 8 to the 3rd power. Alrighty, floor division, which is also known as dividing and rounding down. That is really important that you put 2 of the / right there. This is the point where it gets to remembering what symbol goes where and how many of what symbol goes in this exact point. Yep, just keep your eyes on the symbols. That's one of the most important things. Alrighty. So our next little bit is so here is where it gets interesting. We're going to be assigning variables and numbers to variables. So, x is our variable, correct? And we have set x's main purpose and definition in life is to be 5. That's its main purpose and definition. Alrighty, so just equals 2. Alrighty, so to add the variable, it's the same as x equals x plus 3. So we've assigned 5 as x, but now we're going to do x plus 3. Yeah, that's basically it. Just remember to add the plus and equals to. Alrighty, so subtracting from the variable. Same thing as adding to the variable, just subtracting. It's not that complicated at all in the first place. Alrighty, so if you don't take away anything from this video, it is that you need to look at those symbols. Alrighty, so let's go on to the next thing. Alrighty, so modulos is basically finding the remainder of everything. So let's say we are trying to find how many 3s are in 5. We can only take out 1, and then our remainder is 2, and you can't take 3 out of 2 without going into negatives. So that is basically finding the remainder. Alrighty. So, dividing from the variable. It's the same division symbol, just, with an equal sign on it. So, just remember your symbols if you don't learn anything from this video. Alrighty. So, we're dividing 5 by 3. Alrighty, so dividing and rounding down from the variable, or it's also known as floor division. So if we divide 16 by 5, and then we round down from said remainder, that's floor division. So we're going to be using the 2 /. Just make sure that you watch out for the symbols. So finding the exponent of a variable. So this is 3 to the 5th power. Yep, 3 to the 5th power. So just watch out for the symbols and make sure that you fully understand the symbols before trying to do anything with them. Alrighty, so that's how to find an exponent. Just remember the signs. If that's your only takeaway from this video, I will be extraordinarily happy. Alrighty, now we're gonna get into some comparison operators. Alrighty, so for comparison, let's say for example, x is equivalent to 5. So the first equal sign in our print thing says, okay, x is equal to 5. And then the next one says, is this true or is this false? So we want to make sure that we know if it is true or false, so we'll input that into the computer. Alrighty, so not equal to. Alrighty, so if we want something to not be equal to something else, then we are going to be using this little exclamation point right here. This exclamation point says, okay, are you equal, are you not equal, and then we'll get a boolean or a true-false thing at the end. Alrighty, let's go on to the next one. Just remember all of the specific signs. Okay, so for greater than, we are going to basically, it's kind of like school. So x is equal to 10, and then y is equal to 5, and 10 is greater than 5. So obviously this statement is going to be true instead of false. So basically, yeah, that's all that's there. We all know how to do fractions, I think. At least we should. We all know how to do greater than or equal to. At least we should. Alrighty, so less than. So keeping the same things as usual, x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 5. So x is x less than 5? No, it's not. So that's going to come back as false because x, which is 10, is not less than 5. Greater than or equal to. This is really important because there's not a keyboard button that says, okay, let's have a greater than or less than sign, but with a line underneath it like you normally see in math. So you have to put a equals sign right there. This is going to come back as either true or false. Okay. So now we're going to get into less than or equal to, which same thing. There's not a there's not a button that has this type of thing. So we gotta make sure that we have our symbols correct and that everything is going very well. Alrighty. So now let's get into logical operators, which is basically, the computer is going to be checking if this is true, and then it's also going to be checking if this is true, and then it's going to check to see what's here. It could be and, or not. So if it's and, let's say that this wasn't 3, this was, that this was not 3, that this was 5. And now x is not equal to 1 anymore, so this would come back as false because this has to be true as well as this being true. So let's change that back to 1. Alrighty, so now we've gotten into and make sure that you double equal signs or greater than or less than symbol. Alrighty, so or means that either one of these could be true. Like y could be equal to 3 and then y would not be less than x, or y could not be could be 3 and then y could be less than x. So basically this means this can be false and this can be true, or this could be false and this can be true, but print is still going to be true or false. Alrighty. So now we get into not. Not basically reverses everything. So let's say, so y is greater than x. Y is less than x. That will basically be reversed, and this statement will be said as true, even if it is not true at all, in the slightest. Alrighty, so let's get on to the next point. So the next point is identifying operators. Basically, this checks to see if x is the same number as y. Yep, that's basically it. Print x is y, and then it'll go true or false. Is not would be the exact same thing as our not back up here. It just basically reverses everything. Alrighty, and membership is basically the same. It's going to be checking if the word awesome has the word me in it, and it does. Awesome does have me. It does have the word does have the word me in it, and basically that's what it does. It checks if B is in A or if A is in B. Alrighty, so B, so not in. Alrighty, so now let's print this. Control S, and then let's go into our file system. And we're going to pull up mine's in my data drive. We've been through this before. Munchkin's projects, operators, operators.py, and then we're going to be editing this with idle 3.9, or the latest version of idle. And now we are going to be running this module right here, and let's look at this side by side real quick. Alrighty, so now that we're back up at arithmetic and we've opened this, we're going to see that 8 plus 2 is 10. And then for subtraction, 8 minus 2 is 6. All of these are all true. And you'll see that this has an added decimal because in the division department, and that just makes sure that there's not a decimal at the end of everything, like you see down here. Alrighty, so finding remainder, floor division, assignment, let's go to comparison so that we can see how comparison works. So all of this goes back as a Boolean, which is cool as to how that works out. So yes, x is equal to 5, all that sort of thing. For logical, this all works out, and because all the symbols are correct. And then for membership, both of these things are true because B is not in A and B is in A. Alrighty, so now we're going to be creating a calculator, and we're going to be combining variables, user input, and operators to make one awesome calculator. Alrighty, see you guys soon. Okay, so now let's do this calculator thing. Alrighty, so basically what we're going to be doing is just basically putting everything that we did. So for example, this first part is going to be all about user input. So the user is going to type in add, subtract, multiply, divide, modulus, exponent, or floor divide, or floor division, and then it's just gonna go through a series of if-else statements as well as x and y. So input, enter first number. Yep. And then we're gonna change that to y as well, so that we don't have so that we don't have two of the same variables. Z is just going to equal 0 for the time being. That will be the easiest. So if operation dot lower in add or operation dot lower plus, so you can write a string or a or basically anything into this. So we have to identify this as a float. That way it gets inputted through a code easier. Hi, doggo. Okay, so go. So we've got to change some of this stuff into strings as well. Alrighty, so why we have this operation.lower is actually really important. So if, let's say that somebody put add in and they capitalized it. So this changes it to lowercase so that it still gets identified within the rest of the code. Alrighty, so let's go into the next thing. We're going to be condensing all of the rest of this down, now that I've explained the basic form. So, let's get to it. I've already explained all of this. Just operation.lower. You gotta make sure that your symbols are correct. That's really important. I've said it a lot, but it's really important. So this line of code basically says if one of these things is entered, do this. That's basically what it's saying right now. So this basically says, so if they didn't enter in add, they must have done subtract or something like that. So let's format that exactly. Yep. ELIF. So, if not that, then it's our if-else statements that we covered in a previous video. So, floats, because we've got to turn it into a float for the code to make sense to the computer, instead of which we are communicating it to. Hi. So we gotta make sure that when printing the x minus plus, all that sort of thing, just make sure that you get everything correct and in its place. That's the most important thing. Alrighty. And then we're turning that into a string. Alrighty, so now we're just gonna fix this. So, multiply. Alrighty, so this is gonna take a little while, so we're gonna cut until this is done. So, we'll see you guys soon. So now that we have done everything correctly, invalid operation. So the print invalid operation, that means if none of this was entered, or if nothing was really entered correctly, it's going to say invalid operation. Alrighty, so let's hit Control Save, and then let's go to our drive, and let's open this thing. Okay, so we've opened up our calculator folder. We're going to edit with the most recent version of idle. We are going to be running this. Run module. Alrighty, so basically, let's put this right here. So, add, subtract, multiply, divide, modulus, exponent, or floor division. Let's do multiply. Let's do add. Oh. Alrighty, so entering in add. Let's add 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 is 4.0. There we have it. So that was basically our video. We combined everything that we have been learning for Python into one big project. Feel free to come back and watch this video multiple times if you don't understand it, and if you need to, leave something down in the comments section and we will reply and try to help you to the best of our abilities. Alright, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.